Yes, I have on the same shirt as I did in the other video. No, I don't care. Hey y'all, this is Tasha. Welcome back to Amazing Reads. I'm coming here today to do my August wrap up. In the month of August, I was able to read 16 books. I really wish I would have done a mid-month wrap up now, but you know, here we are. So I'll go through there. Some of these will be getting their own videos soon, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, and I'm not going to go into detail on those. And some of them already have video reviews. Finished in the month of August was Court of Lions by Somaiya Daud. This is the second book in the Mirage duology. Mirage follows a girl named Amelie, who is the exact replica of the princess, and so she becomes a doppelganger for the princess because they don't really like the princess, and they become friends and things happen. I thought that this was a very good conclusion to that duology. I did like getting to see other parts of the world when they went on their royal tour. It was very engrossing. There's a sapphic relationship in it. It was very, very good. I did do a blog tour for this, so I will link that blog post down below for you to see my full thoughts and review on this book. But I ended up giving Court of Lions 4 stars, and I definitely would recommend the Mirage duology. The next book that I finished was Mexican Gothic. I listened to this on audiobook. This book follows Noemi, who is sent out to her cousin's estate where she's married this mysterious man to check on her cousin because her dad said that her cousin was sending weird letters. It's a horror novel, and it was definitely creepy. It was gross on some parts. I really did enjoy this. As y'all know, I haven't read a whole bunch of horror, but this is the kind of horror that I could handle, and I really did enjoy it. I think I ended up giving this one, I gave this one 3.5 stars. I'm looking down at my bullet journal. See? The next book that I finished was The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. This was an ARC that I received via NetGalley and Macmillan Audio. This is a thriller that follows 2 women. One of them is a podcast host. Another one is somebody from the small town that the podcast host is at, who is trying to get them to relook at the case of her sister who was killed in this town. This is all in the midst of a current rape case that's going on that the podcast is covering. I don't want to say too much more about it. There are a lot of trigger warnings in this one, or content warnings is what I will say, with rape, abuse, that kind of thing. So if you're in a good headspace, I would recommend this because I thought that it was well done, and I really did enjoy this more than her first book, The Escape Room, and the ending was really good to me. In The Escape Room, I didn't like the ending because of the type of ending it was. It's just one that I don't enjoy. But this one, I really did enjoy how this story wrapped up and everything that happened. So I definitely highly would recommend this. And thank you to Macmillan Audio for the ARC. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Oh my gosh. Okay. The next book that I read, if you have followed me at any point on Twitter in the past month, you will know how much I love this book. And that is Legendborn by Tracy, Deonn. I received an ARC of this from NetGalley via the publisher. And I'm also on a blog tour, and my blog post will be going up later on this month. Or my video, rather. It's a video. My video will be up later this month. This is an Arthurian retelling starring a Black main character, and it brings in different kinds of folklore. It takes place in North Carolina. This is more of an urban fantasy in the way that it takes place in our world, but there's magic and different kinds of societies and things like that. So there's not a whole different world that the people go to, is what I mean when I say urban fantasy. This book was phenomenal. I love seeing Black girls doing great things, and it's not all rooted in trauma, although this one is, but it's so much more than the trauma that she's gone through. I really enjoyed Bree as a main character. I already ship her with a couple people, with one person, so brick for life, but we'll see. I'm so excited for the second book that doesn't come out for another year. This is the first book that I pre-ordered ever. I just absolutely love this book. I think it's totally worth your time. It just, well, I don't think I even really explained it. Bree is a student that got into an early college program at UNC. This is right after her mother has passed away in a car accident, and her dad did let her go because he thought that it would be good for her to go. When she's there, she comes across these things that just showed up that nobody else really seemed to be able to see, but she could totally see it, and she thought that was weird. She stumbles upon a society. She talks to someone. She talks to Nick, who brings her into the society. There's trials. There are, initiations. There's a big battle. Like, this is phenomenal. I can't believe that this was a debut. Like, I can't even believe it. It was so good. It's worth all the hype that you hear, and I definitely highly recommend that you pick up Legendborn. I'll have more coherent thoughts in my review, my full review, because I don't really have them right now. It's been a long day at work. The next book that I read was Blood Heir by Emily Wynne Zhao. This is an Anastasia retelling. I don't really remember a whole lot about it. I ended up giving it 3 stars. This book was really easy for me to put down and not pick back up, but I went ahead and finished it because I was doing the Avatar readathon a little bit. Basically what this is about, it's about the princess who was accused of killing her father, and she's sent away, and so everybody thinks that she's dead or the lost princess. She is trying to make her way back to her brother because she found out some plot where they're trying to slowly assassinate him as they did her father. She's looking for an alchemist. She has a blood affinity where she can control people's blood, and that's just looked down upon. And there's a lot in here. I didn't care, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was objectively well written, but I didn't care. So the next book that I read was a novella by Ashley Nicole. I read it on Kindle Unlimited, and it is called #Birthday Goals. This follows a girl who every year she sets one realistic goal and one non-realistic goal that she wants to achieve. This year, her unrealistic goal was this guy who she has a crush on, who's her cousin's friend, and he's been her goal to sleep with for a bunch of times. And so last year she was celibate, and this year she's ready to get it on. It was cute. I really enjoyed it. I like the friends. I'm curious to see what the other people are doing. I definitely would recommend it. I want to read the first one in this one called #Catfished, I believe. I have it on my Kindle through Kindle Unlimited, so I probably will pick that up. But it was a fun, short novella, exactly what I needed. Something short and sweet and smutty, so I definitely would recommend. The next thing that I read was Collision Course by Christina C. Jones. This is my first Christina C. Jones. I really enjoyed this one. This is a novella again. It's about 100 and something pages. It follows 2 people who, the guy's kind of a player and the girl lived in the same building with him, and so right before she left to go make it big in Las Vegas, they hooked up, and then she left, and now she's back in Atlanta and back living in the same apartment right by him. He's some rich guy from a well-off family, and they have all this tension, and then they start hooking up, but she really doesn't want more because of his reputation. And then in the end, they fall in love because it's a romance. So I definitely would recommend this. Christina C. Jones. I want to read everything that she's written. This was so good. I really enjoyed myself with this one. And I want to read about the other brothers because I just need to know. The next book that I finally finished was Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. Oh, I haven't been doing star ratings. let's go back. So Blood Heir, I gave 3 stars. Hashtag birthday goals, I gave 4 stars. Collision Course, I gave 5 stars. For the Kingdom of Copper, I'm giving it 4 stars. This is the second book in the Daevabad trilogy. This follows Ali, Darrow, and Nari in the second part of their story. I like that we got their perspectives. I like that we got Darrow's perspective this time. I liked the way that the story progressed, but I just felt like I was slogging through this book, and it could have been a mood thing, but it wasn't my favorite second book, but I don't feel like it had second book syndrome either. I don't know what it was about this, but it just took me a really long time to read. I do have so much love for these characters, and I'm definitely going to read Empire of Gold soon. I'm waiting on my hold to come in from the library, but overall, I thought it was fine. I gave it 4 stars because the writing is good, the world building is good, the plot was great. I love a political fantasy, so that was great too. But I just didn't find myself raving about it like I did after I read The City of Brass. But with that one, the first book in the series, I had to reread it to really appreciate it. So maybe that's one of the type of things that I might have to do with this one, especially since I took a long time to read it. So we'll see. I know for sure I'm going to finish the trilogy out though. Next book that I picked up via audio was, ooh, this is bright. Take a Hint, Dani Brown. It's a little better. Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the second book after Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And this follows her sister Danica, who is bisexual. She's a professor. She and this security guard Zaf are like flirting and everything. They get involved in a fake dating trope because of this heroic thing that he did during a drill. He's all about her, but he wants to fall in love. He doesn't want to just hook up, and then he does, and stuff happens, and they fall in love. This is great. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I love the audiobooks for these. Get a Life, I've listened to both of them. Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Take a Hint, Dani Brown. And I really enjoy the audiobooks for these, so I definitely would recommend consuming it that way if you like audiobooks. But I'm so excited. I really love the Brown sisters. I love the way that Talia Hibbert writes romance and people and the complexity of people and the way that she makes you fall in love with her characters, because I'm just head over heels with them. And I definitely would recommend this. It is worth all the hype. I really did enjoy it. The next book that I read was Now That I Found You by Christina Forrest. I read this in one sitting. I have a full review for this on my channel. I will link it in the cards and down below. This follows Evie, who is the next rising star, following in the legacy of her grandmother. Then something happens and Evie is blacklisted. So she goes out to New York to be with her grandmother for a little bit. And just tries to find herself and figure out, you know, that kind of thing. And she falls in love with Milo, and it was cute. I have a full review of it. I gave this a 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 stars. I definitely would recommend it. I do like this author's writing. I do like how consumable the story was. So I definitely would recommend this for you to pick up and read. I really enjoyed it. Feminism by Mikki Kendall. This is a nonfiction book. I listened to it on audio, and this is about feminism from a Black woman's perspective and the things that we should consider feminism and we don't, intersectionality, that kind of thing. I really enjoyed this. There were a lot of points made. I really want to get a physical copy and reread this physically so that I can write in it and note some stuff, because it is as good as everyone says it is. I gave it 5 stars. I totally related to the food thing, about being a single parent. There's just a lot of different points that were made in here that were points that needed to be made, and I really did enjoy it. I definitely would recommend it. It is worth all of the hype that you hear from it. About it. The next book that I read was Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. I'm reading this for a project. The blog post is going up, or it will be up by the time this video goes up. Depends on when I get this edited. This is a middle grade novel from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And it is about Anna Maria. She is in Copenhagen during Nazi-occupied Denmark during World War II. And her friend next door is Jewish. And in Copenhagen, the Nazis start trying to round up all the Jews. And it's about her family helping their Jewish friends get out of Copenhagen and to Sweden where it's safe. I had never read this as a kid. I guess I've had an aversion to World War II stuff for a long time because I never read it. However, I really did enjoy this. I really did like the story. I liked seeing it through Anna Maria's eyes. I'll go in more depth into this in the blog post. So as soon as it's live, I'll link it down below. But overall, I really did enjoy this. I was glad to revisit a childhood favorite. And y'all will see the post soon. The next book that I finished was The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This book takes place in two timelines, one in the present day and one at the turn of the century, like the 1900s. And this is about a girl named Esther who has control of time. That's her magic, and she goes back in time to the turn of the century to try to get this book that has all of this information in it that's going to destroy the brink, which is this barrier that keeps magicians into this area of New York. And it has like street gangs, and it's in two different timelines, and there's magic, and the magic folk are not welcomed in the world. So a lot of them hide their magic and they're taking care of each other and things like that. I really enjoyed this. I already bought the sequel because I really wanted to know where it was going. I hear people compare this to the Diviners, and not quite, but I did like the talk and how Esther stood out because she was a strong woman and she didn't let people walk all over her. And there's a found family in here, and it's just excellent. I really did enjoy this. I can't wait to continue the series, and I know the second book is out. I don't know when the third book is coming out, but I definitely want to continue in this series. And I gave this one 4 stars. Yes, I gave this one 4 stars. The next book that I read was Thomas Wildus in the Book of Sorrows. There'll be a full review of this up on the blog sometime this month. I thoroughly enjoyed myself with this book. It was the exact kind of simple but whimsical. It's not wacky, but it's a very simple fantasy middle grade story that's interesting and fast paced and has you guessing. Thomas is such a sweet character, and I really enjoyed him. He felt like a 12-year-old. Like his behavior never was something that I didn't believe for a 12-year-old, which was really good to see, that he wasn't just like all powerful, almighty, knew how to do everything. Like, he messed up and he doubted himself, and that's what I like to see in that. It didn't really have a magic school, but they have different tests that they put him through to make sure his magic comes in. Thomas's father left 7 years prior to this book, and he told Thomas, magic is real, no matter what happens, just know that magic is real. And then his father was gone. Thomas always assumed his father was dead, and so he's been living at home with his mom. He is leaving kung fu karate class one day, and he stumbles upon this bookshop, and there's this strange little man with these bright green eyes in there, and was like, we've been waiting for you. And Thomas is like, me? Like, who are you, dude? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, let me give you this book, and you can't tell anyone about the book, and you need to only look at it when you're at home, and when you're done reading the book, bring it back to me so that I can see it. And Thomas does that. He brings it back. Weird things start happening. He's being followed. These people are coming to get him. it just gets crazy, and then he finds out he's a magician, and a very powerful one at that, of course. And I really like the writing of this. I thought it was really fun. There were a few times where the author was trying to, things got a little stereotypical when the author was talking about like people of color, but it wasn't anything that completely turned me off. I noticed it as an adult reader. I don't think that children would notice it, so I definitely would recommend this, and I plan on reading the second book this month, so in September. So the next book that I read was Black Klansman by Ron Stallworth. I listened to this on audio. This is a nonfiction book about a black police detective who was the first black detective in Colorado Springs. He talks and he sends a innocuous letter to the Klan from an ad that he sees in the newspaper, and they actually reach out to him. Can I help you? Yeah. Okay. Bye. Anywho, so they reach out to him. They actually respond back, and they're like, "Oh, we want to meet you." And he's like, "But I'm black." So it's a whole undercover thing. It was very interesting to see how he navigated the whole situation, the racism he was dealing with in the department, the having to sit there and listen to the racism spewing from these Klan members. It was all very interesting. So I'll talk more about this in a video that's coming up, but I gave this one 3.5 stars. He narrates it himself, and the narration was just not it for me, but I really did enjoy the book overall. The last book that I read in the month of August was Lobizona by Romina-Garcia. I absolutely adored this book. This book was so good. So basically we follow Manu, who lives in Miami with her mother. They're undocumented immigrants, and they're staying in this small apartment with this lady Perla, who is a friend of her mom. Manu's mom keeps her at home, and she has to wear these sunglasses because she has these yellow eyes that glow. They look really, really weird. So her mom just keeps her there to be safe. When her mom is picked up by ICE at her job, then Manu has to run. So she runs, and she stumbles upon this place where there are other people there that are like her, that have these different colored eyes. And it turns out that there are Lobizones and Brujas there, which are werewolves and witches. And she navigates this, and her father, she hasn't known. Her mom said that he died, or that his family could never find her. All this stuff happens. She gets here, it's like a school, and she finds out that she is not a Bruja like girls are supposed to be. She is actually a Lobizona, which is a wolf like the boys are supposed to be. So this book deals with undocumented immigrants. It deals with gender roles. It deals with gender bias. It deals with people accepting change. It deals with a world that just people who can evolve with the world and people who can't. There's so much in this book, and I never once felt like there was too much in this book. I definitely enjoyed the writing. I definitely enjoyed the pacing of the story overall. There was one part that got a little slow for me. There's just so much in this book to unpack, and I can't wait to get a final copy, because I had this as an ARC, but I want to get a final copy and reread it, and I know I'll reread it before the next book in the series comes out. I just thoroughly enjoyed myself with this book. It was so surprising because it wasn't exactly everything that I thought I would like, but I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend Lobizona, and I gave this 5 stars. Woo! So that's everything that I read in the month of August. I enjoyed almost everything that I read. I'm hoping that my September slump doesn't set in, because it does every year, but think I can beat it this year. Tell me what your favorite read of August was. I think that my favorite read would have to be Legendborn, of course. Lobizona, a close second. So go ahead and leave your favorite read from August down below. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.
Oh, wow.